Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm back again with the third illustration, second video in my first fan art series on the Arcana game. And today I'm working on our favorite fugitive doctor, Julian Devorak. It just so happens that today is his birthday. So happy birthday to him, a fictional character, but nonetheless fun to say. But before I get any further in this video, I do want to say there will be spoilers for the game, especially for this character. He is my favorite after all, so there's no way for me to talk about him without spoiling things. So if you haven't started playing this game, then I suggest clicking off this video and coming back later, or watch it without the audio on, or just watch it if you don't care about Julian's route at all. I mean, I can't stop you. With my disclaimer out of the way, let me briefly go over my process for this video and how that all worked out. As usual, I used my various mixed medias to create this piece, starting with my watercolors and then adding some Copics at the end. Oh my god, guys, like seriously, I almost ruined this piece because my Copic decided to just up in juice and like bleed all over the place. I've never had that happen before, but luckily I acted quickly enough so that I was able to fix the mistake and kind of blend it into the piece. Definitely the watercolor paper helped with that, I think. Overall, I love how this piece turned out, and it is a bit different from my previous two illustrations in this series, since I did draw Julian in a full body pose. I also chose a much more like subdued color palette, I think, and I feel that the environment is a little more cohesive than maybe the other two. The environment actually is directly inspired from one of the backgrounds in the game, which is the library scene. You interact with Julian quite a bit in the library, so that was definitely why I chose to interpret that space for this illustration. It isn't a complete copy, but close enough that I think mostly anyone who has played the game would recognize it. I also need to talk a bit about his pose. In a very subtle way, it reflects the major Arcana card that is associated with Julian, the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is typically depicted in this cross-legged position, which to me kind of looks like a 4. I also chose to pose him with this blue flower since this is a direct thing that happened in his route. And the game artists themselves created an illustration of that scene with the blue flower, so that made it considerably easier to use as a reference to like how to draw it in his hand. I also couldn't help putting titles on the two books that are resting underneath his arm, one being Poisonous Plants, since that relates to the flower in his hand, and then the other one says Plague for Dummies, which I just thought was funny because I don't know, I just found it hilarious to think that that would be a book that he would look at. So those are the major things I wanted to say about this piece itself. Now it's time to talk about the character in question. As I said in my previous video where I worked on Ciarra, Julian is a fugitive in the game because everyone believes him to be the murderer of Count Lucio. That being said, though, most of the city, I can't say the city's name right now, actually really adore Julian. He's a very likable character. He's very charismatic, and he tends to get people to feel good around him, you know? But, so in general, the fact that he was, this fugitive, possibly murdered the Count, that already piqued my interest in his character, because I wanted to find out if that really was the case or not. My years of reading Nancy Drew coming out. And as I already explained, Julian breaks into the MC's main character shop looking for Ciarra, but something I left out in this scene was one of my favorite things. And it was definitely something that really sealed the deal for me in loving this game and wanting to play more of Julian's route. So basically, when he breaks in, he is masked in a plague doctor's mask and looks just like a plain creepy dude in a big old coat. So of course, the MC is freaked out, and that is when the first time choice option pops up on screen, which when I played this, it actually surprised the hell out of me. But the two options you were given in this limited time to react to this crazy masked man coming into your shop is to either run, understandable, or crack a bottle over his head. Yeah, I chose the second option. I found it hilarious that you could pick that as an option because literally like none of the other games I played had a main character that could be that aggressive and like badass and make that kind of choice, I found. And not to sound biased, but in my opinion, knowing what you do about Julian down the road, this is a perfect selection. So from there in the story, you run into Julian a few more times in the market and then around the like the castle manor of Nadia's, and then one more time at the Rowdy Raven, I think is the name of the pub that he tends to go to in the seedier part of the town, which that is where you really get to see like his softer Piscean side, since he is a Pisces boy, which again I love given that I'm also a Pisces myself, so his character is very relatable to me out of pretty much everyone in this game. After that sort of interaction, then you get into the beginning of his actual story route, which starts at chapter 6, which is called The Lovers. Ooh, very appropriate name given this is the chapter I believe we have this lovely scene with the blue the blue flower. And this is also the chapter we find out about one of my favorite traits of Julian's character, which is that he's a bit of a masochist. Let me explain. So in the sphere of my experience, especially when I first started playing this game, I was coming off the back of playing like the Otome games in the Shall We Date series of app games that you find. And like 99% of the time, the female character you play as in those games was a bit of like a damsel in distress and was more submissive to the male characters, which I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with enjoying that kind of power dynamic, but for me it gets kind of old real fast, and I realized that I personally only enjoy that in very small doses. Since I'm more of a headstrong kind of girl myself, which I'm sure not many people realize upon first meeting me, but yeah, that's a huge part of why I adore Julian, because finally, a male character in one of these games that really lets you do the chasing. That's not to say that Julian is not totally extremely flirtatious and dramatic, because he is, but that is more of his outward character. Again, the writers of this game did such a great job in really giving all the characters a lot of layers to their personalities, so it's really hard to just sum them up as basic archetypes, like the cold, brooding one, the cute younger brother type, the older, intelligent one, the boy next door. You know what I mean if you've played like Otome games or watched or read some reverse harem animes/mangas. Riddled with those just like easy kind of like tick the box kind of male characters that you could throw in. I think a part of the reason that the characters in the Arcana game are not as one-dimensional in personality is because they are based off in part at least, the archetypes of the tarot. For anyone who starts working with the tarot knows that there are so many layers to how to read the cards themselves, especially the major arcana, which the characters in the game, again, are partly related to or connected to in some way. I think that lends them to having more dimension right from the start, since there is at least like 2 ways to read every major arcana card, and I would say the same goes for the characters in the game. Overall, Julian is just a really fun character because he's just a bit reckless, but his recklessness usually is coming from a place of wanting to protect the people he loves or avoiding his own problems. Not relatable in any way sometimes, He is very much that dramatic, self-sacrificing character, but you see him having a lot of also like self-loathing or self-doubt too, mattering on how, you look at it or what's happening in that situation. Very on character zodiac-wise, I would say. He's also pretty sarcastic, which I love me a sarcastic character, so that's a plus. He's just really funny and over the top sometimes, and he makes some really dumb decisions that the MC has to bail him out of. I'm of course speaking of the notorious trial chapters and the lab adventure. Why? I think anyone who has played this route can relate to that feeling of just like, why, Julian? Just why? Like, why are you doing that? Like, can you be more dumb? Just seriously, dude, just stop. Just chill. But yeah, I think that's all I will say for now. Remember to check out all of my links in the description if you want to follow me on my Instagram or any of my other social medias. Especially check out the shop link because I just added some new prints in there this past weekend. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling fangirlness in this video. And thank you all so much for watching. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day, guys.